So it has been officially a year since Farming Simulator 25 hit store shelves, and we've all been engrossed into our new farms. And I kind of wanted to go back and take a look over what's happened over the last year almost, or what's new, I guess, in the farm sim. And the reason this has been all spurred on, actually, there's two different reasons, to be perfectly honest, guys. Number one was, well, the announcement of the Year 2 Seasons Pass. That was the one reason I wanted to get into this. And number two was there's been a post over on Reddit I was kind of going through where people were commenting about the fact that it's done a year, and they wanted to talk about what they want to see in the next Farming Simulator game. Now, of course, we're a long ways away from seeing another Farming Simulator. Like we're at least probably 2 years. In fact, given the fact that there's a Seasons Pass out for next year, I would guarantee pretty much that it's a 99.9% chance we're not seeing it until Farm Sim 28. So you've got 2 more years still of this current generation Farm Sim at least. And yeah, so don't get your hopes up for next year, that's for sure. That's not going to happen. So Farm Sim 28, what new features they would like to see. And I mean, this happens like once a year at least, right? I mean, I might have made my own videos on this over the years, let's be honest. So we're going to talk about that. We're going to look through some of the suggestions people have, and we'll talk about those suggestions because I find that kind of fun to do. And on top of that, let's talk quickly about the new features that Farm Sim 25 had brought to the table and before we get started on all this, we're going to be talking about realism in Farming Simulator. And it kind of is a great time for me to tell you guys that Tobii Eye Tracker 5 is currently on sale. There's a link down in the description you can use right now. It'll get you 20% off a Tobii Eye Tracker 5 for Black Friday, all the way up until December 1st. Great time to pick one up if you're wanting to up your game, especially for, well, it's PC players, of course, only on this. But if you're looking to up your game into Farming Simulator and up that realism level one more level, the Tobii Eye Tracker 5 is a great addition for that. Of course, it works on American Truck Sim as well. It'll work on Flight Sim, a bunch of racing games. It's a cool tool where you don't have to add any peripherals to your head. It works with all sorts of different screens. It doesn't matter if it's a curved screen. Works with eyeglasses, so you don't have an excuse not to really get one if you want to up your realism in Farming Simulator, or any game for that matter. Go check the link down in the description and you get 20% off today. Make sure you get it before December 1st. All right, so let's start by talking about the new features. I can just bring this on down that were brought in with Farm Sim 25. I can shrink this a touch, just kind of resize this a little bit so we can look at this. So this was the spec sheet for Farm Sim 25. Of course, we have all looked at this for the last year or so. The big features are all listed right here, of course, and that's like, I mean, number one, starting off, of course, were the 3 big maps that we got along with Farm Sim. You know what? I have to give Giants credit. The maps that they've been bringing in the last couple generations of Farm Sim have been all fantastic. I can't have no complaints for Farm Sim 22, Farm Sim 25, all the DLC maps. They've all been really good maps, really solid additions. No complaints there, and that goes along with Farm Sim 25, the 3 maps that were included. Of course, also the latest DLC map, all very good maps. On top of that, crops. That's something we've been adding in the last few years as well. Of course, we got rice, spinach, peas, green beans this year. Mixed reaction to all of this. I was excited for rice originally, and now I kind of forget about it. It's not something, it's one of those things you do once and you kind of like, okay, I'm done with it. And that goes the same with, previous iterations. I go back to Farm Sim 19. Let's go back here. It doesn't have it listed here, but does it? No, cotton was the big crop in Farm Sim 19. And I remember doing it once or twice. And I'm like, okay, I've done cotton. Let's move along. Farm Sim 22, was it grapes? And like, that was the big thing with the grapes, right? You do that once or twice. You're like, okay, I don't need to do that anymore. It seems like they've introduced a bunch of these new crops just to give something more to do to the game. And I'm not quite sure where we're going to go. Like, do we need to have all these extra crops? I think that's going to be the biggest fight I have. But anyways, we got some good crops. I mean, we have a ton of crops now. It was 20 some odd crops, different crop types. It's kind of ridiculous. It's a lot. Animals. We got new goats. We got water buffaloes. But the biggest thing for me were the baby animals. That was huge. Love to see baby animals brought in. That was a good touch for sure on Giants. Why didn't we get baby horses though? I don't think we got baby horses, right? We got everything else, but no horses, if I'm correct. Someone correct me in the comments if I'm wrong. I'm pretty sure there's no horses. Now, this other one as well, 400, they advertise this is a new feature. 400 plus pieces of machinery, but you go to Farm Sim 22 and we had over 400 pieces of machinery. So pretty much the same there, no real big change. This was an interesting one though. This was kind of mentioned last minute. Weather effects. So the new twisters, the hail that can damage crops, kind of improved effects there. I mean, baby steps here. Like, this is not anything crazy revolutionary. They're kind of cool. Like, I was surprised to see that we had twisters. I didn't expect him to go that hard. I was hoping just to have like maybe like rain and frost that could kind of kill crops, but twisters, all right. It's funny, like they kind of went so far, but they didn't take care of I don't know. There's a whole discussion we have to have on that as well. Next up, ground information, GPS assisted steering. The ground information, very cool. It's more appearance based. Like, you don't really get stuck, obviously. And the GPS assisted steering, I think this is a big feature. I know lots of people use this exclusively. Obviously, if you're a console player, you use GPS assisted steering a lot. And I'm glad to see, I think it's getting better. This is slow baby steps, of course, for the AI as well, right? We're slowly getting better with this stuff. Series after series, year over year, we're getting better with this side of things. I'm glad to see that's happening. Still some work to be done though. What else we got? New production chains, farm shops, of course. The Farm Sim 22 productions. It's not even listed here, is it not? Seasonal cycles and production chains. There we go. So seasonal cycles was the big thing that was full like base game, of course, because it wasn't a mod. And then production chains were announced to be part of base game as well, not a mod. In Farm Sim 22, and of course it was extended into Farm Sim 25. So yeah, we got production chains, which personally I could care less. It's more busy work to me anyway, but they're there if that's what your thing is. So of all those things, I actually, going back over it now, I'm actually kind of impressed with some of the stuff. Like, there's a bigger list this year than there was for Farm Sim 22. So you know what? I can't really complain too loudly, but of course there's things I would love to see be added in. All right, tomorrow, Klutch here. I actually had an idea overnight when I was editing this video, and I wanted to kind of go over where the problem that Farming Simulator is currently running into a bit of an issue, I think, at least personally, and it has to do with the gameplay loop that Farm Sim. I remember back in the early Halo days, actually, I used to love Halo. And Halo 2, I remember, was coming out, and they were talking about how they had to nail that gameplay loop. And for them, it was about a 15 to 30 second gameplay loop of, you know, getting that weapon, finding ammo, finding an enemy, shooting the enemy, hopefully surviving, and then re-healing, and then doing that all over again. So that was the loop, essentially, in Halo, having very engaging battles. And unfortunately for Farm Sim, a 30-second loop really doesn't quite work. In fact, let me bring up, well, what I feel the Farming Sim loop is. Okay, so I've got my trusty notepad up here. Let me just kind of scooch this off to the side. So we've got, we'll make a big old circle to start with. Can I just do a circle, a nice simple circle? So that's our gameplay loop in Farm Sim right there. Now, what does it entail? Of course, we have to start everything. Let's start with some seeding. So seeding, let's make it a little thicker. Hang on a second. Okay, that looks better. So we'll start with a little bit of seeding, of course. So actually we'll call that planting, but seeding, you guys get the point. Down at the bottom, we have, what else do we have? We have harvesting, of course. And then selling. I wasn't very smart. I shouldn't have seeding. We'll put this planting. We'll put that as planting. So this here is the basic gameplay loop, right? Planting, harvesting, selling. That's the three things. We just circle this around. Now, years ago, Farm Sim 13, this was probably pretty close to the gameplay loop. There was, of course, one extra thing in here. Of course, we had fertilizing was the extra portion, which doesn't need to be done, but that's added in. Now, if you think about this loop right here, say that this takes 1 hour. That is currently the gameplay loop, the engaging gameplay loop in Farm Sim. It's not 30 minutes or 30 seconds, like I said, for a lot of high intensity games. This is more laid back, more chill, right? But this is our current gameplay loop for the most part. Now, what Giants has done is they've added a whole bunch of things, of course. Now we've got, let's see, we have to remove stones. So stones, put stones right there. We got to remove our stones. That's been added in. We added liming. We got a lime. So I know the times, I mean, we can lime before planting, but you guys get the gist of it. Of course, we still have fertilizing. We got weeds to get rid of now as well. What else do we have to take care of? After harvest, of course, we have productions as well, was added in Farm Sim 25. So we have our productions down there. In between, say, let's go between our selling and planting again. We also have animal care, right? Animals. Animals. There we go. I got it. So instead of just like the 3 or 4 things, now we've got upwards of 10 different things in this whole gameplay loop, which I'm not saying is necessarily wrong. I like the fact that we've gone to this kind of extent, and that brings back to the point that, yeah, there's more to Farm Sim now. It's much more realistic in real life. There's a bunch more things that happen, but fundamentally the gameplay loop has gotten much more, I don't know, it's not extreme, but much more realistic in that sense. But also with that, because we have all these things to do, we're looking probably, what, 6 times more time for the same amount of work? Like you're probably looking, let's say 6 hours instead of 1 hour, just based on that. So that alone right there has caused Farm Sim to be much more, I wouldn't say difficult, but much more, there's a lot more to it, right? So because of all of this, the learning curve to get into Farming Simulator can seem much steeper, and that could potentially scare some people off. So that kind of brings me to my next point. Let's just clean that off. No, we don't need that. Okay, so like I said, much more involved, much more difficult to kind of figure out when you're starting off. So we've got 2 different sides of our box here. So this here is kind of entry level. Say we'll call this arcade, an arcade style game. Over here, we've got another box, which we'll call full-on simulation. No hands holding for the most part. Now, when I'm looking at these 2 boxes, I think of over on this side, your simulation games. I'm kind of thinking like even Flight Sim, right? Like Flight Sim 24. FS 24. That's not Farm Sim, that's Flight Sim. A lot to it, very engaging, but true to life, right? You can play this like it's an authentic aircraft for the most part, and a lot of the Flight Sims are like this. I mean, X-Flight did the same thing as well, but let's just stay with what I'm going with here. So Flight Sim 24, iRacing, I would say pretty close to real life in a lot of ways as well. iRace, you guys can see them spelling that correctly. iRacing right there as well. Probably one of the better simulation racing games currently out there. Also, ATS I would probably put kind of over 1. Like if we're calling this a line right here between the 2, I'm gonna say American Truck Simulator is kind of over a little bit. It's not quite fully realistic because of, well, like no damage, that kind of stuff as well, right? Anyways, then if we're gonna go all the way to the far side, I'm trying to think of like comparables to this. I mean, American Truck Sim, we don't really have a trucking game. Maybe it was a Star Trucker or something along those lines. Most of the trucking games tend to be middle of the road here somewhere, I find. But like racing games, there's a ton of racing games, of course, from like Need for Speed, Burnout. That style of game is more on the arcade style. For farming, we don't really have anything else out as of yet. I mean, there's rumors right now. There's a couple of games being produced. Of course, American Farmer. The mobile game was released 2 years ago now, which has been great because it's a competitor to Farming Simulator. I love to see more competition because it makes everyone bring their bar up a little bit higher, of course, but I digress. Currently, Farm Sim is the only one we have. So Farm Sim, where the heck does it land on this bar? I mean, this here, arcade accessible, right? This is extremely accessible. You could probably jump into this game and figure it out right away, and that's like Need for Speed. For Flight Sim, I'm looking maybe more like your little, like even Ace Combat, I think is a fairly simple. It's simple, but there's a lot to it, of course. But it's simple to fly the airplanes. I'm trying to think back. There was a Crimson Skies, I think, back on the original Xbox or Xbox 360. I used to play a lot. I remember thinking how easy that was to fly the plane, how much fun it was. But super simple, easy to dive into, super accessible. Now, of course, that's for new players, right? This is great for new players. Over on this side, the simulation side, to jump into Flight Sim 24 with no idea what you're doing tends to be a little bit more difficult. Same with iRacing, right? You try to jump straight into iRacing. Very frustrated to try and keep up with the pack in iRacing without having a clue what to do. American Truck Sim, you can figure this out. I mean, everyone knows how to drive a vehicle, I guess, to some degree. So I would say that's still not all the way up there. It's not like it's the most complex thing, but at the same time, there are some complexities that make it more of a simulation. For Farm Sim, I should say. Farm Sim 2025. Of course, like I said, we have taken that circle and made it much larger, more time consuming, a lot more things going on. So it's definitely moved closer in some ways to the simulation aspect of it, right? We've moved away from the arcade. Now, this here is where I think Giants wants to attract its new users. How do we get these guys to see Farm Sim, be like, ooh, okay, I see Farm Sim. I'm going to try this game. I want to try this series out. But as they try it, they slowly start moving up this way so they can learn. And that's always the challenge for Giants. I think that's the biggest problem for them. You see posts, I get comments about this all the time. You see posts on various different platforms about, well, how do I start? What do I need to do? And they've tried various ways of doing different types of tutorials, of course. There is the university on their website as well, which teaches each step. But it still seems like it's a bit of a challenge to get people from the arcade side or the entry-level side and get them to stick with Farm Sim long enough to move up the chain to move it up into simulation side. And there's definitely parts to Farm Sim where it is more simulation, but there's a lot of things where people that are watching this video, if you're watching this video, chances are you're closer to me and you want to see everything full-on simulation. You want to see everything pull all the way over here where you have to treat the game more like an actual real-life event versus currently, there's parts of it that are more simulation, but there's a large portion of it where it's more, well, you did mostly the same thing, so you're going to get the exact same harvest you got last year. So there you go. Congratulations. It's the same idea. I think there's a lot of room to move closer to this, so I would say we're below American Truck Sim. Like, we're down here. I would say where Farm Sim is currently located, kind of half and half. Still struggling to try to pull these players up and make it accessible enough for them to get involved with it to begin with. So I think that's kind of an explanation of where my current point is. Let's go back to yesterday, Klutch. So we've talked about where I want to see Farm Sim 25 go to some extent. Let's take a look into this Reddit post. Like I said, I'm curious to see, I've only read through the first couple comments here. I'm curious to see where people think we should go with this. And right off the bat here, revamp graphics engine, crops and fruit don't look so flat. Yeah, 100%. I think the Giants engine right now in its current form is at its limit. Personally, that being said, with the new Project Motorsport Racing Giants is putting out, comes out this week. Actually, link in the description if you are a racing sim fan. You should go check it out. I've had a chance to test it out and play it here. It's a pretty good game. It's a lot better than I was kind of expecting in the back of my head without having played it before. A little more on the simulation side, but just looking at what they've done with that, and my understanding is it's using the Giants engine to some degree at least. It gives me some high hopes on what's possible in Farming Simulator, especially with the control of vehicles. Can we take what we've learned in that and bring it into Farm Sim? I think like the suspension is really the big thing that Farm Sim needs to work on, obviously, and grip on tires and all the like there. Can we bring what we've learned in Project Motorsports and bring it over into Farming Simulator? I really hope that's possible. But revamped crop NDA, we've talked about that. I love the idea of this, right? This is something here, stuff happening on other farms so they don't feel like such a ghost town. And that is a huge thing. And multiplayer solves this problem, but I would love to know what the percentage is of players in Farm Sim that play multiplayer versus single player. It's got to be 95-5, right? I bet you 95% of the people play single player. There's only a far 5% that play multiplayer on the regular, especially. So having other farms actually get work and being able to see equipment running in fields, I would love to see that. Tropical farming, I don't really care about any of this. Let's keep it simple. I don't think we need more crop types, guys. I think we've had enough crop types. I think we're done. We're good with crops at least for now, at least for one generation. Let's work on the base, please. Yeah, of course, a more dynamic weather is going to always be in there. This was the other one that was really nice to see that was in Farming Simulator 25. But let's do it properly now. Let's actually put in where frost comes in and can kill your crops. You are not right now. At least you do have some effect if you have some proper hail comes in and can damage your crops. So it's not guaranteed you're going to always get the same yield off a crop. But generally speaking, still in Farming Simulator, if you plant in April, you get your crops properly fertilized, you do liming, you do all the same things year over year. You roll out your fields, whatever it might be. If you do the same technique every year, you're going to get the exact same yield off that crop. Let's make that so it's a bit more dynamic. And to be perfectly honest, I know that I'm going to say this. This is not what I really want to say in the same wordage, but it's kind of gamifying it a bit. It's that risk versus reward, right? And there are mods that do help this a little bit, but I want more of that risk versus reward. Okay, I can probably pull this crop off today, It looks like there might be frost coming tonight that's going to damage my crop, or there's a big windstorm coming that came through and destroyed my crop. Who knows? But I would love to see that change happen, where you have to look at the weather and be like, well, should I take that crop off today? Risk that the temperature is going to drop, or it's going to rain tomorrow and it's going to damage my crop, and I'm not going to be able to get it off until winter then, or whatever. I would love to see more of that instead of just the kind of guaranteed, yep, it's the same rotation, the same circle of tasks you do, and you get the same thing no matter what. Let's change that up a little bit. Let's make that a lot more realistic to real life farming. This is something that they keep on saying they do, and Giants, I don't know if I believe you. Like the bale and pallet physics are terrible. Like they're terrible, guys. I'm sorry, they're terrible. Let's please log physics. Yeah, log physics as well. This is something I don't quite understand why we haven't had I guess maybe they have been edited lightly over the years, but I don't know how it can't find a better way to make those work yet. But please, Giants, work on the physics of that stuff. The fact that we do so much for productions right now with all the pallets, I'm surprised that they haven't found a better way to make that all work yet, because that seems like that should have been like number one with all the pallet work people do now. Oh, of course, rolling down here, this is going to be a hot topic. 4X maps for console players. Yeah, we should be able to do this. I don't know why we're not yet. Once again, more updates to generalized stuff. I like these comments, right? Because this is what I kind of agree with. Getting rid of the ring, the visible ring. Yeah, 100%. Better physics for everything. Yeah, sure. And this is what I'm talking about here. Better driving physics because of Project Motor Racing. I'm hoping, like this user says here, I'm hoping that that's a thing that can be done as well, right? That's got to be possible. Of course, we're going to get lots of people always asking for more old school equipment. Yeah, sure, I get behind that. But at the same token, I know we're kind of sucked into expecting the modding community to pick up the slack for equipment, and I fall into that. I want Giants to focus. I don't want them to focus on equipment. We have good equipment in game. Focus on the base. Focus on all the base features. We don't need new crops. We don't need new equipment right now. I want to see better of everything else, though. The better gameplay, better base maps, better ground information, better weather, all that stuff. I want that to be better. I want to see more realistic stuff brought into our crops, and I think you guys have probably heard me talk about this before, because I'm sure I complain about this every single time I make one of these types of videos. And speaking of which, actually, more in-depth livestock. Please, can we focus on livestock for one a little bit? That would be nice, instead of just the same old. I understand Giants will not do any kind of butcher type of shop. Like, that's not a thing that they do because they'll lose a rating. Regardless of all of that, I just would like to see actually taking care of animals a little bit more in depth, right? Let's make that so it's actually a little bit more realistic rather than just the simple feed them and you're good to go. Let them do their thing. Like, let's find, I don't know. To be honest, I don't exactly know what I would expect with this, but there's got to be a way to make animals more engaging in Farming Simulator. Actually, here's a comment right here on that. More in-depth animal breeding. There we go. And that's accurate too. I think the animal there's an animal livestock mod out there that makes it a little bit more interesting at least, but it doesn't really change the base gameplay yet. So I still think there's room to work on that. Oh, this comment here. This is an interesting one. The NPCs, actually, I mean, they want to talk to the NPCs that we're talking about. That just brought up in my memory. Who cares about the NPCs in Farm Sim 25? Does anybody find them useful at all? Like, did you use them? Anybody? Bueller? Like, what was that? I mean, they had a whole series. Did I miss something? Like, I've got a lot of hours in Farm Sim, and I think I've talked to them all just to see if they do something different, but am I missing something, like, other than Grandpa that does the initial, like, tour? What's the point? Can someone... I don't get them. I don't understand why we have those guys. Yeah, an F-350. Yeah, just don't wait up for it. That's not coming anytime soon, let's be honest. A lot of people questioning the graphic engine. I personally don't mind the the overall feel and the graphics of Farming Simulator. It's not obviously the most realistic picture, like that's not the most realistic game out there as far as fidelity goes, as far as graphic, but I mean, the tractors and like the equipment itself all look really good. You can't deny that. Sure, there's some things I would like to see. It's more map based, I think, where I want to see more detail and higher fidelity, like the crops, draw distances, that kind of stuff. That, sure, I can understand that. The equipment themselves, though, I mean, you get into a case quad track, it looks pretty authentic, I have to say. I do find it funny. I was expecting to read through this and finding a lot more people saying like ground deformation being higher on the list, and like people are like, well, this is in 25 ground. It is in 25, but that's not what we're talking about when we say ground deformation. I want to see something where it actually affects. And the biggest thing that I say about this, if you built a flat map and you just drive around in it, does anything change ever? Like it's always a flat farm, it's a flat map. I want to see when you drive across, like if you're always cutting across like a corner that's grass, I would love to see that slowly turn into like a tracked road area from your equipment, because you're always driving over that area. It kind of would get rutted in and would look like an authentic road like it does in real life. Can we have that happen? That's the big one I always think about. I'm like, I would love to see where I don't necessarily need to go into the landscape tool to change what my farm looks like. I just need to constantly drive around it, and the routes that I'm taking around my farm, if I'm doing it often, relatively often, the farm will change. Like there'll be grass will grow in certain areas, tire tracks will show up in other areas where I'm always driving on them. I think that's where we need to go to, and there's got to be a way. Don't get me wrong, I'm no coder, so Giants, don't come at me. I don't know if that's possible or not, but hopefully if that would be possible, that would be very cool. It is interesting, there's quite a few of these that could just be simple changes too, right? Just looking at getting yields in bushels, right? That's a simple change that I still don't understand why we don't have that as an option to switch back and forth. I'm surprised someone would even write new Steam achievements. Like, is that really big on your list of things you want to have done? I guess. Do people, I guess people really love achievements more so than I ever thought they would have. Of course, I knew we were going to see a few people talk about hunting. That's as much as, I mean, we got fishing now, right? We have fishing with the latest DLC. So the Highlands fishing pack gave us a fishing rod, and we can actually go fishing in game now, which is, it's okay. I was hoping for something a bit more, to be honest, but at the same token, we can go fishing now. Hunting, unfortunately, once again, Giants wants to keep the PEGI 3 or PEGI, whatever it is, the European standard for the most generalized rating. And that's kind of, you know what, guys, I'm gonna go on a bit of a diatribe here. Why do we worry about that, Giants? I'm trying to figure out, like, I've got youngish kids. They're older now, but how many kids under the age of 10 want to play Farming Simulator? I don't know. I don't know what the answer is to that. And would that have an effect on it? Could we not up it a little bit? Like, even if it's just hunting or a butcher shop, are you going to be losing that many kids from purchasing farming or playing Farming Simulator because you've added that portion of the game? I really struggle with that, especially since that's kind of a part of farming. Why are we sugarcoating this? I don't know. I feel, my personal feelings are that it's kind of ridiculous that we're trying to go to the bare minimums, the absolutely lowest part, get down to absolutely everybody into this game, where you're not getting any of those kids. There's no kid at 5 years old who's going and wanting to say, hey mom, can I buy Farming Simulator, when you've got half these other games out there? They're probably buying Grand Theft Auto anyways, let's be honest. So just reading through the rest of this stuff, it seems like it's basically a rehash of pretty much everything else we've said here. Once again, you get a lot of complaints. Listen, guys, I'm not here to complain about what Giants is doing with Farm Sim 25. I think it's actually a pretty decent title, and I'm pretty happy with it. There's things I would love to see fixed, but there's nothing in Farm Sim 25 that I personally feel is worse than it was in Farm Sim 22 or worse than Farm Sim 19, with the exception of the Seasons mod. Don't get me started on that. But that's a whole other story. Farm Sim 25, as it sits right now, is, yeah, it's a great addition to the franchise. Literally a couple thousand hours already into it, of course. So I still personally feel like it's got lots of legs left into it. Are these things that we will see in the future? Who knows? But my hope is that we will focus less on adding new things to that gameplay loop and just really starting to nail down that gameplay loop a little bit more and making it more engaging. Because right now, I feel like that's the title. We're trying to dumb it down a little bit more in a lot of the ways, where I think I personally would rather see the gameplay loop lose some of the stuff and be more realistic versus just adding more things to it. I don't know if that makes any sense or not. Anyways, I thought that was an interesting to go over your guys' comments over on Reddit. If you guys are on Reddit, that's cool. Hopefully, I'm not too hard on anybody that put their comments in there. I think that was pretty good. But let me know what you guys think down in the comments below. I appreciate hearing what you guys think of my thoughts, especially if you guys like what I'm thinking. I mean, I'm always right. We know this, right? I am always right when it comes to Farm Sim, but you can let me know what you think regardless. I'm okay with that too. Anyways, thanks for watching, guys. Drop a like. Don't forget to subscribe, of course. And yeah, we'll see you guys in the next one.